Hello, and welcome to Nomadic Diaries, the re-entry series. I'm Doreen Cumberford, the host.
And I'm Linda Mueller, the co-host.
Hi, everybody. My name's Doreen, and I am here with
Linda Mueller.
And we are Repatriation Diaries for the month of November 2024 and onwards. What are we doing, Linda?
Today, we're chatting about inspiration, which
Yes,
we'll
we
be
are.
releasing each Sunday.
Yeah. And I don't know why we said Sunday, but I think that Sunday is related to the word inspiration, which is in spirit, and ation, like an iteration. It just feels like that's appropriate to me. Do you have any comment on that?
You know, when I look at the full week, I always try to regroup on Sundays. And so I think when we repatriate, there's a lot of regrouping needed. So I'm just hoping that we can share some thoughts to inspire people to step back and do some thinking about where they are and where they want to be.
Yeah, exactly.
Mentally, not physically necessarily.
Yes, I mean, we're really talking about the invisible side of ourselves because me and my two suitcases is always the things that the meat suit, which is the body that we carry with us, and our belongings, whether it's a suitcase or a container. And then there's the invisible side of us. So for today, let's just make it clear to our listeners that today we're going to talk about the invisible side of repatriation in terms of the spirituality. What do you think?
Sounds good. This is my thing. I love it.
Me too. So one of the things that I notice about you, Linda, is that number one, you've done like 6 repatriations, which the more I get to know you and listen to you, I really see the thread through them all. But like me, I think you've built on every single one of them, and you've looked to each of them as being a treasure trove. And that becomes a skill, don't you think?
I definitely think so. I mean, as I've mentioned, my first 3 were from programs when I was a student. So in a way, I feel like I did them on autopilot. But there was actually a time during the 3rd one, and I was in my late 20s. I was in graduate school, so I was more mature and experienced in life when I realized that each repatriation was not necessarily an end point. It was just another chapter in my journey. That's how I look at it now. And that doesn't mean my repatriations with my family were easy, but I think they were easier because of my mindset.
Yes, yes. And I do think that maturity as we grow through time, that just the natural process of time creates maturity, doesn't it?
For sure.
I just wanted to start this little conversation. We're just going to speak for about 10 minutes today about the subject of inspiration. And Elizabeth Kubler Ross, who writes about grieving and death and dying, she said, people are like stained glass windows. They sparkle and shine when the sun is out, but when the darkness sets in, their beauty is revealed only if there is a light from within. What do you think about that?
I mean, that's something I definitely would love to sit with for a little while. But I mean, just off the top of my head, I think it's beautiful and it's true. And it's something to aspire to make sure that we build and create that life within ourselves.
Absolutely. And that we carry it with us. You know, in the Middle East, they had a phrase that they would say, going to the edge of the light that you can see. And this was from the ancient biblical times. People would walk with sandals, this Middle Eastern sandals, and they'd have a little thong and they'd have a little metal cup with oil in it, and they would light that. And in the dead of night, when they couldn't see a thing, you could be on the edge of an escarpment, or you could, if there's no stars out, it could be completely black. You didn't know where you were, but they could go to the edge of that light because the light on their sandals kind of took them there. And that's a principle that I have worked with and shared over the decades, I think, because I think it's so beautiful, because sometimes we don't know, what the heck am I supposed to do now? We think that it has to be some great leap forward into the distance or into the future. But what if it was only going to the edge of the light that we see? What if it was only going to the one next tiny little step that we can take in staying healthy and well during the process of repatriation.
I love that. I'm going to have to borrow that. Can I, as we record, can you give me permission to borrow that from you? I never heard that during my time living in the Middle East, but it's something I can imagine. And I'm hoping everyone who's listening can take a minute to think about what that really means. Literally how beautiful that must be when someone's walking in the dark with the light on their shoes, but then also what that means for each of us in terms of taking action and always trying to move forward. So thank you for sharing that.
Well, I just thought it was a good place to start because I think that taking little mini baby steps on a daily basis is really helpful. I'd just like to share from the Gifts of Imperfection. Now, Brene Brown is one of my favorite writers. I have met her in person and I have been in her presence in Houston a couple of times when she's delivered lectures. She just seems very real to me and very down to earth. And I think everything she writes about could be applied to repatriation because I look through that window a lot. I feel like I'm looking through the lens of repatriation. So this is what she said. She gave some tips here that I would just like to be our little share for the inspirational part of today. She said that a friend of hers heard this great intention setting reminder during a 12-step meeting. And she said, it's called the vowel check. It's an AEIOUY. And she said, the first thing is, have I been abstinent today? Now, abstinent, I think, is usually associated with drinking or alcoholism, but you can consider it. We can be abstinent from negative thinking.
Mm-hmm.
We can be abstinent from confusion and overload. We can be abstinent from drowning in the logistics of this process called repatriation, right? I was thinking maybe we could just define it a little differently, and that's the part of being inspired that we each have to do the work every day of finding something that inspires us. When we find something, it's like making that decision. What am I going to be inspired by today? Good question. Then she said, A is for abstinent. E is, have I exercised today?
Pretty straightforward.
Yep. I is, what have I done for myself today?
One of the first things that people tend to drop when they're in busy situations, stressful situations, I think.
O, what have I done for others today?
It's a great way to make yourself feel better to help somebody else, right?
Yes, yes. And U, am I holding on to unexpressed emotions today? So what emotions am I feeling that I'm really not aware of? Or what am I unaware of that I need to dig into a little bit and maybe express? Speaking as someone who's an empath and who has volcanic eruptions or used to have volcanic eruptions.
No, I can't imagine.
Well, I'm doing much better now, but I used to have, I used to hold things in a lot, and now I let them out gently, much better. Yay, why is yay? What is something good that's happened today? We can all look
Good to
for something.
celebrate, right?
Yeah, like you said, celebrate. Let's do it again one more time. A is abstinent. So what do I give up that is, or like what's challenging me today? E, exercise. I, what have I done for me today? O, what have I done for others? U, am I holding on to unexpressed emotions today? And yay, Y is yay. What is something good that is happening today?
Gratitude always helps lift us up and inspire us. So I like that last one.
Yes, yes. And I think it's just a nice little, we can put that in the show notes for this particular recording. And we can just put that in because I would just like to leave our listeners today with, it's not always easy to find inspiration, but I think that setting our mind on a day-to-day basis to go to the edge of the light that we see, and that means finding a little bit of something that will give you juice, that will give you joy, that will give you pleasure, and that will keep you on the path of creating a positive repatriation.
I love it. And, I think being gentle with ourselves when we use that list is probably important, because we may not be inspired by every single one of them, but if there's one or two that speak to you that day, it'll be such an improvement over where you started, I would assume.
Yeah, that's a very good point. We don't need to go cover all the vowels. We just need to we just need to take that one baby step.
That's great. Thank you for sharing that.
Well, do you have anything else you'd like to leave our listeners with today? I would just like to suggest that you come back tomorrow and hear the next part of the Repatriation Diaries.
I love it. And I would just add that we would love to hear from you. So please leave a review, contact us. We'll put the information in the show notes. If you have any ideas, what have you found inspiring? Share it with us, because we would love to share it with the listeners. And also, if you have any questions, we're happy to answer those in future episodes.
Yeah, terrific. And the purpose, once again, is that we are here to inform, inspire, and create impact in the lives in your life as a listener, in order that it be more powerful and more successful wherever you are. Sayonara, masalama, hasta la vista. Anything else we can say to say goodbye?
Oh no, you're stumping me.
Just cheerio. Bye.
Cheerio. Farewell.